Alright, in this video we are going to look at how and where to hire a professional voice actor for your project. And the two places that we are going to look at today are Fiverr and Voices.com. Obviously there are a million and one other places to get a voiceover done. You can also hire someone locally. There's a lot of other options of course, but those two are really good. And I've used them successfully myself for hundreds of projects, and I'm sure you can get a really good job done on either of them, whatever your budget or needs are. So we're gonna go into how to use each one a bit later, but first things first, I want to discuss a bit about planning the voiceover, because there are a couple of things you need to consider before actually looking for someone and actually hiring someone. So the first thing you want to think about is the gender, then the age, and also the style. In terms of gender, obviously, this all comes back to your target audience and who they are. So, of course, some cases are very obvious, like say you have like a beauty blog, makeup and stuff like that for women. Obviously, if you make a video for that, the target audience is going to respond better to a female voiceover. On the other hand, you might have like predominantly male niche, like I don't know, bank CFOs that are over 45 years old or something like that. In that case, you might want to go with a male voiceover. Of course, there are other industries and niches where you get a really good balanced mix between men and women in that industry. So in that case, there's no real accurate, scientifically good answer. It's just a matter of going with your gut and what you think is going to work better. And to be honest, at the end of the day, it might also just come down to personal preference, to be honest. All right, the next thing is the age. And as I said before, for example, if your audience is like predominantly young women who are interested in makeup, for example, then it's probably not a good idea to get a like 60-year-old woman to record the voiceover for you. So those are definitely things to consider. The next part is the style for the voiceover. And obviously this can be very different, but maybe you want something that is kind of casual, super friendly, or depending on your audience, if it's like bank CFOs, like chief financial officers, like I said before, maybe you want something more professional, more corporate, or I don't know, depending on whatever topic you're doing, you might want something like super excited, super upbeat and full of energy. So this is definitely something you want to consider and you want to include in the brief when you hire a voice actor. Personally, when I hire a voice actor, I also like to tell them the target audience for my project. I feel that, I don't even know if other people do it, to be honest, but personally, I feel that it just paints a much bigger picture for them and makes everything much clearer. And I think it's really important that they also understand the script, who they're talking to, because this way I feel that they're going to be able to do a much better delivery. And talking about the delivery, what you want as a file format is, if possible, request a WAV uncompressed file format. And this is the highest quality possible. At the same time, this might not be possible every single time. So if you get an MP3 file, that's also fine. Technically speaking, MP3 files are compressed. So, the quality is technically speaking a bit lower than for a WAV file. But, either one is going to be good. But if you can choose, just go with WAV. Okay, so now that we have this out of the way, let's look at the two options that I talked about earlier, where we can get a voiceover done, where we can hire a professional voice actor. And as I said, we're going to look at Fiverr and Voices.com. And the difference between those two is going to be mostly budget. On Fiverr, as the name says it, if you're not familiar with it, basically what Fiverr is a marketplace for all sorts of different services that start at $5. And it pretty much evolved over time, and now they're a bit more expensive than $5 because obviously $5 is nothing. So you can't expect a lot of quality, but you can get a voiceover done for, say, anywhere between $5 to like $15, $20. And if we're talking about like 1 minute to 2 minutes, which is basically pretty much any explainer video out there. At the same time, I also use voices.com, and I actually use voices.com for all my client projects because it's a bit more higher quality, but obviously the budgets are also a bit higher, and each project on voices.com actually starts from $100. That's the minimum project budget. The most that I ever paid on that website was I think around $450 for a 1 minute voiceover. But it was a really, really amazing voiceover artist that my client really wanted to work with. Now, another big difference between those two sites, and it's something that I really enjoy when I work with clients, is that on Fiverr, for example, you just look through different voiceover options, like different artists. You check out their demos, and then you select one and pay him or her to record a voiceover. On the other hand, on voices.com, you can actually get auditions from people. You post a project basically with your script and all your brief and everything, and a sample of your script, like the first paragraph, for example. And then you get people to send you auditions reading the sample of your script, which is actually amazing because you get to hear each individual voiceover artist actually saying the words that are going to be in your video. And this gives you a much better feeling for the artist. Now, of course, as I said, there's also the price to consider. So depending on your needs and budget, just pick one that works for you. So let's have a quick look at Fiverr. It's actually fairly easy to use. You just have to make an account, and you can either search here on top where it says find services. You can go and search for voiceover, or you can just go here in the menu and go to voiceover, to the voiceover category. And it gives you a couple of options like we spoke about before. Say we're not really certain on what we want, so we're just going to say flexible, both male and female. Also our budget, I don't know, say it's a low budget, that's why I suggested Fiverr. If you have over $100, I really suggest you go on voices.com, it's much better. But if you're on Fiverr, you probably are looking for a low budget option, which is completely fine. The quality is absolutely amazing, which is quite surprising. And yeah, let's just say I need it anytime. So now they're gonna select some artists based on these filters. And what you wanna look at, obviously, is a couple of things such as the rating and how many ratings they have, and also their demos as well. But you can also, depending on your project, you can also like select a couple of more filters here. Like maybe you're not looking for an English voiceover. Apparently Fiverr has quite a few artists in different languages like Spanish, French, Arabic, German, whatever. But in our case, most people are just looking for an English voiceover, so just gonna select that because we don't want to hear other voiceovers. I'm just gonna select female, for example. All right, so now you get a lot of options, and it's up to you. You can just sort by best selling, for example, to see the most successful ones. So for example, look, those ones over here have more than 1,000 reviews, which means they're absolutely amazing. They all have 5 stars, and it's basically a matter of just, going and checking each one of them. Maybe you want like a younger one or like an older voiceover, depends on you. So just check a couple of options and see which one you like. Say, for example, we're gonna like this one. We're gonna check out this one, sorry. And here's the actual page of the gig. You play it back to see how the voice sounds. It has like a couple of demos, and it's really important to consider. Let me see. All right, so for this particular gig, it's $5 order for 100 words. It doesn't really say here, but it's usually pretty much for 100 or 150 words. No, actually, yeah, it says here $5 for 100 words. So a script will usually have, for 1 minute, it's usually roughly around 150 to around 160 words. So let's say you have like a 2-minute script, which is 320 words. So you're just gonna write here the number of words, say 320, and then the order automatically updates to $20. And if you continue, you also get a lot of, other extras as well that you might want to consider. As I was saying earlier, you want to request a WAV format if possible. So let's just check this one. Also, if you need the voiceover really fast, you can ask for an extra fast delivery. In this case, it's $80, which is a bit much, to be honest, if you go on Fiverr. But you can always go back and look at a different voiceover artist that can deliver faster. In this case, or if you're not in a hurry, just let this one. Its delivery times is 3 days. That's totally fine. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Then you're gonna order, pay with PayPal or your credit card and whatever. And then you get to actually send the brief as we discussed earlier. All right, now let's have a quick look at voices.com, which works a bit different. Of course, you create an account and all that good stuff. And then you go to jobs and you're gonna post a new job. Just gonna click here to post a new job. However, in our case, I'm just gonna show you what I meant with the auditions. So I'm just gonna click on this first project here. And we can go here to responses. As you can see, I got 55 auditions, and most of those, like 45 or even 50 probably, they actually read a sample of your script. The rest, however, are kind of lazy in a way, and they just send a demo of their voice, which is what you can also find on Fiverr. So as you can see, it's quite a lot of options to choose from. To be honest, it's actually hard when you have so many good options to choose from. So yeah, those are all things to consider. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I really enjoy using both those sites. As I said, for lower budgets, depending on the client, we sometimes use Fiverr, or for some personal side projects as well, I might use Fiverr. But when I do a really high quality professional video for a client that pays a lot of money, I prefer to use Voices because it also gives my client a lot of options to choose from, and he or she can get a better feeling of what the voice is going to sound like. All right, that's all for this video. I'll see you in the next one.